If you're a Pilates business owner and you're feeling overwhelmed at where to start working on your business, this episode is for you. I'm going to show you how to get out of overwhelm by tracking 3 simple numbers in your Pilates business. And the whole process I'm going to share with you will only take about 2 hours. Over the last 18 years, I've built 2 7-figure Pilates businesses. I grew my original Pilates studio, Breathe Wellbeing, here in Melbourne to $2.4 million a year in turnover before I sold it in 2016. Last year, my current business, Breathe Education, averaged $100,000 profit per month. In my mastermind, I work with 60 plus Pilates studio owners, and I've reviewed the financials of over 50 studios. And the consistent pattern I've seen through all of that experience is that tracking just a few key metrics in your Pilates business virtually eliminates overwhelm and makes you a lot of money. And today I'm going to show you how to stop feeling overwhelmed and start making data-driven decisions, yes, data-driven decisions that grow your studio and shrink your anxiety. By the end of this episode, you'll know 3 simple metrics to track so you can focus on what actually moves the needle in your business. We're going to cover why tracking just a few key metrics will get you out of overwhelm, which metrics to track, how to track them, and how to use them to make data-driven decisions so you can stop having everything as a priority and know what's actually important to grow your business. You'll finish this episode with clarity on where to start fixing your studio today. All right. Little story. As a studio owner, I loved teaching. I loved connecting with my clients. I loved planning classes. And for a long time, I avoided the boring hard work of tracking numbers because it felt like overwhelming and boring and tedious and irrelevant to the important things that were important to me about why I started my business. But here's what I've learned though. Overwhelm is the combination of high demand with low clarity. And at many stages in the first several years when I ran my Pilates studio, I felt overwhelmed. As a business owner, you'll always have high demand on your time, energy, and focus. There are an almost infinite number of things that you could and probably should do in and on your business. And that's where clarity comes in. If you don't have clarity, everything seems important and you become overwhelmed and don't know where to start. Not knowing where to start is a sign of lack of clarity. So you need to start by getting clarity. Because believe me, not all the things in your business that are currently demanding your time and attention are equally important. Although they may all feel important, some of those things will yield 10 times or even 100 times the result of the other things. Overwhelm feels like there's too much to do, but the truth is you're overwhelmed, and I was overwhelmed because you don't know, and I didn't know, what's most important. So everything seems important, and that's why you feel like you have too much to do. Think about this. How many months have you spent feeling this way? If you knew exactly what areas of your business were performing well and what wasn't, and what to do to fix it, it would be obvious what to focus on. That clarity comes from data. I'll give you an example. Say your studio, now I'm talking here about, in this episode, predominantly about a group reformer studio, although I will talk a little bit about if you have a smaller, more bespoke, say a 4-on-1 or, duets, trios, that kind of thing, a very small bespoke studio. This episode's also for you, but I'm going to talk primarily about a group reformer studio, so 6+ reformers, where everybody's doing the same workout together. All right, so here's the example. Say your studio's not making enough profit for you to draw a salary. Well, where do you start? You could do more marketing on Instagram, or you could put your prices up, or you could add another class type to attract more clients, or you could work on your website or do some demo classes at a local business, hand out flyers, or any of a million other things. Which one should you do? And this is where the overwhelm comes in. Without data, you simply don't know, and there's no way to choose without data. Now, imagine I told you that in our hypothetical studio, last month we had 50 first visits. So in other words, we sold 50 of our intro offer. 11 of those people purchased a membership or 10-class pack. So we sold 50 people into our intro offer, and 11 of those 50 people went on to purchase a membership or a 10-class pack. And just say that our studio, our hypothetical studio, has a capacity utilization of 91%, which means that on average, the classes are 91% full. So if they've got 10 reformers, there's 9.1 people on average per class. Well, what does this tell us? People are trying it out. Had 50 first visits, so that's a lot of people came in to try it out, but they're not signing up because it's too busy. Only 11 of those people, 22%, converted to a membership or 10-class pack. Why? Because it's too busy. You've got 91% capacity. The classes are full and waitlisted. They couldn't get into the classes they want. They came and tried out the studio. It sucked because they couldn't book a class. They probably didn't even use up all of their visits on their intro pack, and they were like, stuff this, I'm not going to buy a pass. Why would I buy a pass? I can't get into class. So what do we need to do? We need to put on more classes so that those people who do their first visits have a better experience, and then they'll sign up. Easy. Problem solved. Put on more classes. That's what you need to do. Now, maybe you don't, maybe you're already teaching as many as classes as you can. Well, it's obvious what you've got to do then. You've got to hire somebody, right? It becomes obvious what you've got to do. So your first visits, are in what we'd call KPI, which is a key performance indicator. And I've found over the years that about 50 first visits per month, if you're a group reformer studio, is 40 to 50 is KPI. So the most successful studios, that's what they're doing. 40 to 50 first visits per month. So 40 to 50 intro packs per month they're selling. And so the 50 first visits, we're in KPI there. Whereas 11 people only purchase the 10 pack, that's a 22% conversion. 11 is 22% of 50. And really for a group reformer studio, your intro pack to membership conversion should be more like 50%. Now, I'm going to talk about these KPIs in more detail in a little bit, and I'll talk about the KPIs for a small studio as well. But so we can see that the first visits are in KPI. The intro packs are well below KPI. They should be at 50%. They're at 22%. So that tells us that's where the problem is, right? People are trying it out, but they're not buying. They're not buying an ongoing pack because they're not having good experience. And how do we know they're not having good experience? Well, the utilization is 91%. KPI is around 80%, right? So your classes are too full, and that's why people are not having a great experience. All right. Now, imagine a different scenario, right? So same sort of basic outline. You're not making enough profit, okay? But this time the numbers are different. You've got 12 first visits last month, 10 signups, and 60% capacity utilization. So what does that tell us? Well, 12 first visits is nowhere near enough. 12 first visits, 10 signups. So we converted over 80% of our first visits. That's excellent, right? Once people try it, they love it. And 60% capacity utilization, we're well under capacity. It should be more like 80%. So the problem here is not enough first visits and too low capacity utilization. So we need to cut classes and put the money that we were spending on those classes into marketing, or put the time you were spending on those classes into marketing. Now, when I say marketing, just a tiny little sidebar here, I'm not talking about dancing on Instagram. I'm talking about actual marketing, Google ads for people who search Pilates near me in, say, like a 5-mile radius of your studio. All right, example number 3, same basic scenario. You're not making enough profit. This time, 40 first visits, 30 signups, and capacity utilization 60%. So 40 first visits, your marketing's working pretty well. 30 signups, you signed up 75% of the people who visited, right? So they're having a great experience when they come. Capacity utilization is only 60%. Now, if you're a new studio, like if you only started your studio 3 months ago, you're doing great. I actually wouldn't cut classes here if you're a brand new studio. You're you're cranking in those new members at rate of 30 members a month. So pretty soon you'll be in KPI for your capacity utilization, right? You're building that. So that's great. Whereas if you're an established studio and you've got a great client acquisition process like this, where you've got 40 new first visits and 30 signups every month, but you're still at 60% utilization, that suggests you have a churn problem. People are leaving out the back door. You're losing members as fast or faster than you're getting new ones. Probably your classes aren't that great or your customer experience isn't that great. You've got a trainer problem and a customer service problem. So in this scenario, I just want to rewind here for a moment and just to make sure that you're clear on how to read those numbers. So we've got 40 first visits, means we're getting 40 brand new people bought your intro pack last month. 30 of those people signed up for a membership or a 10-pack. Awesome. So that means 75% of those people who stepped foot in the door for the first time were so impressed that they bought it, right? They bought a 10-pack or a membership. So you're giving a great first impression, but if you've been going for a couple of years or a year and signing up 30 people a month and your capacity is still at 60%, well, that means you're leaking people out the back, right? So if you're signing up 30 people a month, like in a very few months, your classes will be full unless those people don't stay very long. And so if you're at 60% utilization, that tells us that if you're an established business and you're signing 30 people up a month, you must be losing 30 or 40 people a month who are cancelling their membership or just not renewing their pass. So it means you've got a solid marketing and acquisition process, but you've got a churn problem. You've got a customer retention problem. And why do people churn? Well, a certain small percentage of people are always going to churn. They, get a different job, they move house, family, financial situation changes, whatever. So, you'll never have zero churn, but over 10% is a problem. And, this episode isn't about churn, so I don't want to go into too much depth here, but the fact that you're at 60% capacity utilization suggests you've got a churn problem. And churn, aside from that kind of basic inevitable churn of people's just life circumstances changing, it's caused by their experience in the results, right? If you patronize a business or if you go to a restaurant and the food's shit, you don't go back. You go to a restaurant, the service is shit, you don't go back. Same with Pilates, right? Maybe, and this is a classic scenario when you grow beyond being the sole instructor at your studio, where you know all of the clients and you deliver amazing service, and you employ a couple of instructors and they're not as good as you. Their classes aren't as full as yours. They don't deliver the same service you deliver. They don't remember the clients' names. They don't give the same experience or results that you deliver. And so this is where, if that's you, you need to take a long, hard look, or actually probably a short, hard look at the capacity utilization by instructor. So what was the average capacity utilization for each instructor? And what you'll almost certainly find is that your utilization as an instructor is way higher, and there are a couple of instructors or one instructor that's way lower, and that person or people need to be fired and their classes need to be cut. And that's just a reality of business. All right. And there may be a customer service issue as well. Like maybe, the toilets are dirty, or, there's no seating for when they're waiting for their class, or your receptionists are rude or whatever. So you're going to need to look into the experience, the change room, they can't get into the change rooms, whatever it might be. So you're going to need to look into, why are people leaving, and be honest. And because if you're not honest, you can't fix it. All right. So just these 3 simple metrics: first visits, signups, and capacity utilization can tell you almost everything you need to know about the performance of your business. Now, obviously, there are a few other metrics you can track and you should track, like revenue, expenses, profit, churn, lifetime value, and customer acquisition cost. But the 3 we're going to talk about today, and that we're already talking about, I think are the most important ones to start with, that will allow you to diagnose exactly what you need to focus on in your business to improve all of those other metrics. All right, let's dive in. Metric 1, first visits. First visits are the number of intro offers that you sell per month, per calendar month. Now, you should have some kind of intro offer. It should be something like, 2 weeks for $30, $40, $50, $60, somewhere in that vicinity. 3 classes, 4 classes, 5 classes, something like that. I really like 3 or 4 classes. I don't want to, sidebar really into intro offers. That's a whole other episode. But you should have some kind of intro offer. Let's say it's 3 classes for $60, valid for 2 weeks. And that should be the entry point of new clients into your business. So basically, if I'm a new client and I find your website from whatever means, whether it's a Google search or referral or click on an ad or whatever, the first thing I see, without scrolling, without anything, any clicking, any other clicks, anything, just the very first thing I see when I land on your website should be new client intro offer, 3 classes for $30, click here. Or whatever the price is, whatever the conditions are, tick here, click here. And so that should be the entry point for all new clients. You shouldn't give them 5 different options of how to work with you. You just make it really, really simple. And then you can track how many of those you sell. Those are new people who come into the business to give it a go. And the KPI here is the key performance indicator, like the benchmark. If you're a group reformer studio, is about 40 to 50 first visits per month, per calendar month. Now, that's going to fluctuate a little bit with seasonality and Christmas and, all of the different things, but it shouldn't fluctuate too much. 40 to 50 is a pretty good average to aim for. If you're more of a small boutique studio where maybe you just do duets or trios or 4-on-1 sort of thing, your KPI is probably more like 5 to 10 first visits per month. But we'd expect you to convert a lot more of them. So if you're a larger studio, 10 reformers, say, or even just 6 reformers, but basically it's a group studio where everyone's just doing a group class together, I would say 40 to 50 first visits per month. Whereas if you're a more boutique, bespoke, everyone does their own little workout or it's a 3-on-1 or whatever, your KPI is more like 5 to 10. Now, this is a measure of how well your marketing is working. And, you're probably going to have, if you're a group reformer studio, 5 to 10 people just walk in the door randomly because they happen to walk past and saw your sign or their sister did it and liked it or whatever. So if you're doing zero marketing, you're probably getting 5 to 10 people a month. So if you're getting 5 to 10 people a month, that tells you your marketing is not working at all. You've got zero effect from your marketing, which is great news because we've got a lot of opportunity for improvement because you can get up to 40 or 50 pretty easily. So if this number is below that, if you're below that sort of 40 mark for a group studio, below 5, for a more bespoke studio, you've got a marketing problem or you've got a marketing opportunity. And so you need to improve your marketing. And that improving your marketing as a studio, very, very simple. Google ads for people who Google Pilates near me in a 7-mile radius of, or 5-mile radius of your physical location. So Pilates near me, Pilates the name of your suburb, Pilates reformer near me, Pilates studio near me, Pilates classes near me, those types of searches. And, again, I don't want to go into a tutorial on how to set up Google ads, but it's pretty darn simple and you will get a lot more customers by just doing that. And that'll probably solve your marketing problem. So don't worry about tap dancing on TikTok or Instagram. Just go get some Google ads because believe it or not, when people want a Pilates class, they don't go to Instagram to look for where to do Pilates. They go to Google. All right, so that is first visits. The next metric is signups. And so signups are what I define as people who people who bought your intro pack, who then also buy a membership or a class pack, like a 10 class pack, 20 class pack, whatever you sell, and who buy it within their intro period. So just say you do like a 2-week intro offer. Within that 2 weeks, you should have a process for converting those people and upselling them to a membership or to a class pack. And a good the KPI or the good benchmark, if you're a group studio, is about a 50% uptake on that offer. So for every, if you get 50 people do your intro offer, 25 of those people should buy a membership or class pack within the intro offer, like before the intro offer expires. And how do you do that? And so if you're a boutique studio, like a much smaller studio where you're more bespoke, that number should be a lot higher, like around 75 or even 80%. And that's because you're just giving way more personal service, and you would expect like somebody who's going to pay a higher rate to try a more boutique service, like they're pretty serious about doing it. So you just expect a much higher conversion for those people. So so you should have a process for converting those intro offer people into ongoing clients. And ideally, you'll have a special offer for those intro people. So the intro offer is a special offer, and then you have a second special offer for people who have bought your intro offer to upgrade to a membership or class pack. And I recommend a free week of membership or a free class, for example, 11 classes for the price of 10. And so you just basically create a special product in your management system, whether it's Moments or MindBody or whatever you're using, a special product that's an 11 class pass, say, or a 5-week, membership sort of thing that is not visible on your website, can't be purchased, by the public, is only available as a link that you send people during their intro offer, and is only available to be purchased one time per customer, and that can only be purchased by people who have a valid current intro pack. And then you simply count how many of those you sold last month and divide by the number of first visits. So just say you sold 25, 11 passes, and you had 50 first visits. Well, 25 divided by 50 is 50%. And that's the percentage conversion rate. Now, if you don't yet have that offer, well, you should get that offer. You should create that offer, but you can just do it manually. So look at every one of those 50 people who bought your intro offer, just like look at them in your studio management software and see how many of them bought a membership or class pack. And if your conversion is below 50% for a group reformer studio or below 75% for a boutique studio, you've got some work to do on this. And why don't people convert? Well, 2 reasons. One is you just don't have a good offer, like you don't have the offer that I talked about, 11 classes the price of 10 or free week on your membership. You don't market that to them with a series of emails going, hey, there's a special offer, only 3 days left of your intro period to sign up for the special offer, etc. You don't have a process in place there. Second is their experience was suboptimal, right? Maybe the classes weren't awesome. They went to your lame duck instructor who's not as good as you, or they just couldn't get into the classes. Maybe there aren't enough beginner classes on your schedule. So you've got to look at the experience of those people coming through that intro process. Maybe it's hard to book. Maybe your website's confusing. Okay, so, or, all those things we talked about a minute ago, like maybe the change rooms are congested or the toilets are dirty or whatever. So you've got to look at why aren't those people buying? All right, the third metric is capacity utilization. And this is a measure of how full on average your classes are across the month. And this tells you how well you're maximizing the resources that you have in terms of the space and the instructor resources that you have and the money that you spend on those things. And so the KPI here is about 80%. So on average, if you're a group reformer studio, and this is both for group reformer and small studios, about 80% capacity utilization. So in other words, if you had 10 reformers, on average, you have 8 paying clients in your classes. Now, your classes might be waitlisted, but then only 8 people show up, right? So I'm talking about how many actual people paid you to do that class. So how many paying clients per class? And so what I've found, unfailingly across the decades, is that once you get above 80%, or in some cases, if you've got extremely good systems with booking and wait lists and very, very good firm, well enforced cancellation policies, sometimes you can get up to 85%. But once you get above that, every percentage that you increase, every point you increase your capacity utilization, you lose more members because people can't get into the classes they want. Everything's waitlisted constantly. They have to, the change rooms are congested. It's full. They can't get their favorite reformer, and they just get sick of it and they start canceling. And so the higher you go in capacity above sort of 80 or even 85%, the more you churn your members. Whereas conversely, below 80%, you're not giving better service. At 80%, people can, reschedule, get into a different class. Like they can actually, they have that flexibility to move between classes and stuff. So you're offering good service. And so below 80%, they're not getting better service. There's just half-empty classes. And so you're paying for classes that you don't need to pay for that don't actually add value to clients. So the sweet spot's about 80%. However, if you're growing rapidly, like if you're a new studio and you're not, you're just building your clientele, probably a bit lower, like 70 to 75% is ideal, because that allows more opportunities for new people to get in and have a great experience. And so if you wanted to optimize for growth, I would probably pitch it a bit lower, 70, 75%. Whereas if you want to optimize for profitability now, I would put it at 80% as your metric, your KPI. And so to calculate, this is very simple. It's just the number of attendances in the month. So one client attending, for example, 3 times in the month is 3 attendances. So it's the total number of client attendances divided by the number of available places in the month. Times 100 equals percentage capacity utilization. And you should be able to just pull this report direct from your management software like Moments or MindBody or Arquette or whatever you use. And if utilization is below 70%, do a utilization report by class and cut your lowest performing classes until you're at 75% capacity. And if it's above 85%, add more classes until you're at 80% capacity. All right, so those are the big 3 metrics: first visits, sign-ups, and capacity utilization. And our KPIs are 50 first visits for group reformer or 5 to 10 for small group studio, 50% sign-up conversion for group reformer, 75 to 80% for a small group studio, and 80% capacity utilization. If sign-ups are low, you have a marketing problem. If conversions are low, so conversion from first visit to sign-up, you have a service problem. If capacity is low, you have too many classes. All right, so now we know what the metrics are. Let's think about how to use those metrics to diagnose what you need to focus on in your business. So I'm going to give you a few different scenarios here, and let's work through them together. So first scenario, you're a group reformer studio. Last month, your figures were 13 sign-ups, 60% conversion. So of those sign-ups, we had 7 people convert to membership, and class capacity utilization is at 55%. So 13 sign-ups, 60% conversion, 13 first visits, 60% conversion to sign-ups, and 55% capacity utilization. Well, we've got 2 big problems here. Our conversions are great. So once people get in, they're loving it. But not enough people walked in the front door, and our classes are half empty, literally. So we need to cut classes until you're at 70% capacity, and then put all of that money that you were paying those instructors into Google Ads to sell your intro offer and get more people walking in the front door. So you need 2 things: fewer classes and more people walking in the front door. So that's what to focus on. First, cut those classes because that'll save you money straight away. Second thing, take that money, put it into Google Ads. All right. See, no overwhelm. You just like clarity on what to do. All right. Scenario number 2. Last month, we had 47 sign-ups. 31% of those, or about 14, converted to, we had 47 first visits. My apologies. 31%, or about 14 of those, converted to sign-ups, to memberships or 10 packs. Capacity utilization is at 75%. All right, so what does that tell us? 47 first visits. Well, our marketing's working. We've got a good client attraction process. Capacity's at 75%. That's not too bad. It's not too high. It's not too low. It could be a smidge higher, but it's pretty good. It's not congested by any means. So conversions are at 31%. So only less than a third of people who did their first visit converted to a membership or 10-pack. So why is that? So that's poor, right? The KPI is 50%. So we're almost 50% lower. 50% of 50% is 25%. And we're at 31%. So we're almost 50% below KPI. So we've got a service problem. So people are coming in, they're clicking on the ad, they're buying your intro offer, they're coming in, they're going, this isn't for me. And then they're leaving. Why are they leaving? Well, it's not because your classes are too full, because you only got 75% capacity. So there's only two options. Either the classes aren't great or the service isn't great, or both. Right? So you have to check the quality of your trainers. This is what we talked about at the start. So maybe you're doing a great job. Maybe you've got a couple of trainers working for you who aren't doing a great job. And also check the customer experience. Like, what's the booking process like? What's the changing room facilities like? Is there a queue to get into class? Like, is the music too loud? Is the air conditioning broken? Are the toilets dirty? Is there no parking? Like, check the customer experience. Why are they having a bad experience that's turning them off? They're coming in, they're buying their intro pack in good faith. They come in, they don't like it. Why? And then you've got to fix that problem. So your biggest focus now is like looking at this intro period. Why are people not converting? Go do those instructors' classes. See how they teach. Is that the way you'd teach that class? If not, fire them and get someone who will teach it the way you want it taught. All right, scenario number 3. 50 first visits. 25 signups, 65% capacity utilization. What's the diagnosis? Well, 50 first visits, you've got your marketing's working great, 50% conversions to sign up, your conversion's working great. They're clicking on your ad, they're buying your intro offer, they're coming in, they're having a great experience, they're buying a membership. Fantastic. So why is your capacity at 65%? Well, there are two possibilities here. If you're new and growing, it's all good. Like if you only opened the studio 2 months ago, well, that's why you're only at 65% capacity. You're growing at, 25 members a month. Fantastic. Couple of months, you'll be at 80%. Just keep doing what you're doing and you'll keep growing. Whereas if you're not growing, if you've been going a year or more and you're doing these fantastic numbers at the front end, 50 first visits and 50% conversion, but you're still at 65% capacity, you have a retention problem. Clients are churning out the back door and you need to fix your service, but not the service for the new clients, the service for the long-term clients. Check your instructor quality and the service and the class availability as it pertains to those people. So maybe you've got someone great teaching the beginner classes, the new clients love it, but your instructor who's teaching the open level classes sucks. Right? Or maybe you just don't have enough open level classes on. Maybe you've got heaps of beginner classes on. There's not enough open level classes. And once people graduate from being a beginner, all of a sudden they're like, oh, I can't find a class. So figure out what's wrong with the experience for those long-term clients and fix it. That is your number one priority. Now, pulling all of these numbers is probably a couple of hours work. How long have you been feeling overwhelmed? You could eliminate that feeling in just 2 hours. Don't put it off for weeks or months again. By the time you finish thinking about whether to do it, you could have just done it. I mean, you could just sit down right now and do it. It's probably not even 2 hours work. So to recap, dear listener, overwhelm is the combination of high demand with low clarity. Everything feels important because you don't know what's important. So everything seems important, and that's why you feel like there are too many demands on your time. Tracking your numbers gives you clarity so you know what's actually important, and that lets you focus on the actions that truly move the needle and gives you clarity, which reduces overwhelm. So start reducing your overwhelm right now by going to your studio management software and pulling for the month of whatever the previous calendar month was. I was going to say the name of the previous month, but I just realized that if you're listening to this in the future, that won't apply. Pull these three numbers for the previous calendar month, and it has to be a whole calendar month. First visits, how many intro offers did you sell last month? Sign-ups, how many people who bought that intro offer bought your follow-on offer, or of those people who bought your intro offer, how many of them bought a class pack or membership, basically? And then capacity utilization. What percentage of your class capacity was used by paying clients? Like not just booked, but actually used by paying clients. And dear listener, the results you want, less stress, more profit, and a thriving studio, are on the other side of this work. And I've created a Google Sheet for you to track these numbers and the other ones I mentioned at the top of the episode. And there's actually a whole workshop showing you how to do it free. And the link is in the show notes. All right, dear listener, I hope you found that helpful. And even more, well, I hope you implement it. I hope you implement it. And I hope you find it helpful I know you'll find it helpful when you implement it. So I guess I want to change that to, I hope you do it. I hope you do it, dear listener, because I know if you do it, you will find it helpful. And I want you to get out of overwhelm, and I want you to make more money. All right, much love, and I'll see you in the next one.